Thank you for tuning in to Tanaka TV, the best and future biggest fight channel on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that like, that comment, that subscribe button. We're trying to get this channel to over 2,000 subs by the end of the year. But we cannot do that. This channel cannot do that, people, without your support. So thank you for those who currently support this channel, and thank you for those who will support this channel in the future. I truly, truly appreciate it. Now, Dana White has recently stated his current Mount Rushmore of the UFC, and we're going to get right into it. We're going to dive right into it. First, he said Jon Jones, Ronda Rousey, George St Pierre, and Conor McGregor. Now, I think that's a very interesting list, and I'm going to agree with some of the fighters on his list, but there are two that I would take off. So, before we break down that list, I need to give you my list. First, on my Mount Rushmore of fighters, in no particular order, people, I'm going to put Jon Jones. I think Jon Jones is an undeniable GOAT. You can say what you want to say about him personally as a human being, but inside the octagon, he is undeniable. We're talking about a man with a 27-1, and that one on his record in a lot of people's eyes and most people's eyes and pretty much everyone's eyes doesn't count. So we're talking about a man who should be 28-0. And throughout that 28-0 run, this man has beat Cyril Gane, Dominic Reyes, Thiago Santos, Anthony Smith, Alexander Gustafsson, Daniel Cormier, Ovince St. Preux, Glover Teixeira, Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Rashad Evans, Lyoto Machida, Quentin Rampage Jackson, Mauricio Shogun Hua, Ryan Bader, Vladimir. He's beaten Brandon Vera, Jake O'Brien, Stephan Bonner, and Andre Guzman. That is one hell of a list, people. An undeniable list. And for me, it's not just about dominating fights. It's not just about just storming through your weight class or multiple weight classes. It's about having legendary fights along the way. The legendary fights that come to mind first would be his first fight with Alexander Gustafsson. We're talking about one of the greatest fights probably of all time. And his fight with Daniel Cormier. We're talking about a guy in Daniel Cormier who is an Olympic, high-level Olympic wrestler who in his own right was absolutely dominating competition. Looked like a world beater. Is a world beater. He just couldn't beat Jon Jones. And Jon Jones he did pretty well against DC. I wouldn't say he steamrolled DC, but he beat him handily. So Jon Jones, he's first on my list. Number 2, this is where we differ. Dana White. I'm putting Demetrius Johnson on the list. Like I said in the previous video, it was literally my last video as I compared Demetrius Johnson to whoever watches basketball as well as to a Steph Curry. Steph Curry has changed the game forever when it came to basketball and the smaller basketball players and that three-point shot. I see Demetrius Johnson pretty much no different when it comes to him being a smaller fighter, him bringing attention to smaller fighters. Before that, Dana White was talking about pretty much trashing the division. Dana White's been saying that he wanted to trash the division for a long time. And he was saying it while DJ was there. But I think a large part of why Dana White didn't was because of Demetrius Johnson. And now that might sound crazy to you guys, but it's not. We're talking about a man with a 27-3 with one, with one tie on his list. 27-3. This is not boxing, people. You're not going to see people running through and going 50-0 in the UFC or in mixed martial arts. There are too many components, too many weapons that go into the sport of MMA. We're talking about punches, elbows, knees, leg kicks, kicks to the head, submissions, Ground and pound, you get the point, right? So having a 27-3 record is off the charts amazing. We're talking about a guy who was beating people like Ray Borg, Wilson Reyes, Tim Elliott, Henry Cejudo, John Dotson, Horiguchi, Chris Carriazo, Ali Bagutinov, Joseph Benavidez, John Moraga. And some of those men he beat twice. Ian McCall, Miguel Torres. When it comes to that lighter weight division, he beat the who's who's. Anybody that you've really heard of that was relevant in that 125-pound division, Demetrius Johnson beat. And most of the time, he beat pretty handily. And on top of that, he has one of the best submission finishes ever in the UFC. So I'm giving it to Demetrius Johnson. Also, we all know that he just retired, so congrats on his retirement. He had a very, very legendary career. Obviously, I'm putting him on my Mount Rushmore, right? Boom. Next, we're going to differ again here. I'm going to take out Conor McGregor. I'm going to take out Ronda Rousey. I'm replacing Ronda Rousey with who he had on his list in 2020. I'm keeping her there. Amanda Nunes. The Thanos of the women's divisions. We're talking about she captured all the shards on that gauntlet. She got all of them. Who are those shards, you might ask? Mind you, she's 23-5. 23 wins and 5 losses. Who might those top fighters, the world beaters that she beat? Holly Holm? Cyborg? Valentina Shevchenko? Ronda Rousey? Miesha Tate? Germaine Randamie? I said Ronda Rousey, right? Because she did beat Ronda Rousey. Dominated Ronda Rousey. Some might say retired Ronda Rousey. She dominated fights. She dominated women that a lot may consider or did consider to be the GOATs. As you can see, Dana White put Ronda Rousey on his Mount Rushmore. And I get it. I get where he's coming from. But I think Amanda Nunes was more dominant. And she dominated the woman who was dominating. It doesn't really get any bigger than that. And mind you, yes, she took an L to Juliana Pena. But she came back and answered all questions. And came back and beat Juliana Pena the next fight. Not to mention, right after that, she beat Irene Aldana. That's a tough record to beat when it comes to the women's divisions. Next, but certainly not least, and this is where me and Dana are going to agree again, George St Pierre. I couldn't by any means leave George St Pierre off. I think that there are a lot of people that you could have maybe mentioned. One who comes to mind is Khabib, but if you're going to compare Khabib and George St Pierre, who would you say is more dominant? I'm going to give it to George St Pierre because he was more dominant for a longer span of time. We're talking about a man who only lost twice out of 28 fights. 26-2, people. That is insane work. Now, within that 26-2, he beat Michael Bisping, Johnny Hendricks, Nick Diaz, Carlos Condit, Jake Shields, Josh Koscheck, Dan Hardy, Thiago Alves, BJ Penn, John Fitch, Matt Serra, Matt Hughes, Josh Koscheck again. Let's see. Frank Trigg, Sean Shirt, Jason Miller, Jay Huron. That's one hell of a list, especially in the time frame that he did it. Not to mention, he came back off of a multiple-year layoff. We thought this man was going to be permanently retired. And he came back and beat Michael Bisping. And then set off into the sunset. I still can't believe that man did that. He did that in 2017. We're talking about 7 years later, and I'm still like, dang. How are you just going to beat Michael Bisping and not even defend the title. I think he just came in to just prove a point. Like, hey, y'all must have forgot who I am. I'm George St. Pierre. So like I said, this list is in no particular order. I think all of these are equal among the Mount Rushmore of fighters. Comment down below, people, what you think about my list and how you would compare it to Dana White's, alongside who would be on your list. I would love to hear it, people. Please, please do not forget to like. Do not forget to comment. I really would like to hear your opinion. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.